Okay, we are live, up and running. Welcome, everybody, to another virtual town hall meeting here for Nebraska Firearms Owners Association. I am your host tonight, Director of Media. My name is John Anderson, and we've got some other people that are going to join us, and I will give those introductions here in just a moment. As we're letting the notifications go out, we will just mention a couple different things. We do have NebraskaFirearms.org is up on the screen, and that is the website for NFOA. If you're not yet a member, all you do is go to NebraskaFirearms.org and click on the Become a Member link. And we have been informed that some people are not getting the confirmation email of once you've signed up, but don't worry about that, because whether or not you're getting the confirmation email, you are getting signed up to become a member. So that is the most important thing. Second most important thing on that page is the donate now button. We are not in the habit of asking people to send us $10 to keep the sky from falling in. We don't send out emails begging you for your money, anything like that. However, we are a nonprofit organization. We are funded entirely by donations. And so if you would like to help us out, we will definitely take that. We very much appreciate it. Just so you guys know, if you're making financial donations, the board members, the volunteers, there's nobody within this organization who gets paid any of your money. Okay, we all do this on a volunteer basis. I don't say that to pat ourselves on the back. I say that because you are not paying for us. You are paying for the fight to preserve and protect our rights as Nebraska gun owners. And I say our rights because all of us that are on the board, all of us that are even the volunteers, we're all members. We're all Nebraska gun owners too. We're just like you. We're just normal folks with day jobs that happen to have some extra time that we can devote to doing some of this. So speaking of that, we've got a couple people here on the screen with us. And first and foremost, we are going to introduce our president. Trish Harold is with us today. How are you, young lady?
I'm doing really well. Glad to see everybody online tonight.
Yeah, and there are more and more people jumping in all the time. That is great to see. Okay, and then let's take that off the screen so everybody can see names again. Okay, and then with us, we've got another one of our volunteers. I tell you what, it'll be easier for me to let you give your own introduction. We've got Dick Clark with us, and as far as NFOA capacity, what all are you actually... you've helped us with a lot of things over the years, is what I'm trying to say. So I will let you list those because I won't get them all right.
Well, thanks, John. It's nice to be with you all tonight. So I have been on the board for the NFOA in the past. It's been a few years since I was on the board. And at one time, I was one of the uncompensated lobbyists or volunteer lobbyists, which is the kind of lobbyist that NFOA uses as a grassroots organization. I'm a true believer. I learned to shoot rifle and shotgun at a Boy Scout camp back when I was a kid, and ended up liking it so much I taught it at the Boy Scout camp and worked at a gun store in college. And when I went to law school, I didn't have the intention of becoming a gun lawyer. It's just that I was already a gun nerd, and so becoming a gun law nerd wasn't so far of a leap. And so that's my background. And I've kind of got one foot in the law practice world and the other foot in the policy world. So I have a private law practice, Dick Clark Law, where I primarily specialize in firearms law, use of force, and so on. And then I also work with the Nebraska legislature, and I have a day job in Senator Tom Brewer's office, where I'm his committee legal counsel for the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee. And so I get to work with the senators and help craft legislation over there and help fight the good fight on that side of things. And then I try to fight the good fight over in the world where we don't get to make the laws. We just have to navigate them. And so, yeah, that's kind of why I'm here tonight.
I'm very, very glad to have you. Okay, so what's going to happen tonight? This is not going to be quite as formal of a structure as what we had last time when we had the senators here. I am going to pretty much turn the reins over to Trish. I will try to keep up with comments, and as I get breaks in there when things come up, I will try to put some of these up on the screen. While we're doing that, I just want to mention the reason that we do these online, these virtual town hall meetings is because it gives you a voice not only can you make a comment, but you can ask a question, and we'll get as many of the questions answered as we can. We don't want to, of course, be here all night, but we'll do our best to get most of the questions answered that at least pertain to the 2A sanctuary county topic tonight. And anything else that is relevant to the discussion. If you're watching on YouTube, we cannot see that you're there, so please make those comments. And because we want to see where everybody's coming in from, where you're watching this from, and then on the Facebook side too. If you're making the comments, it's a lot easier for me to find those than to have to go back through and potentially miss things. So what I'm seeing so far, just going to shout out some counties. We've got Dixon County, Seward County, Bellevue, which is, if I'm not mistaken, Sarpy County. We've got Webster County. Hitchcock is here. Douglas County, several from Douglas. Another Sarpy. We've got quite a few people out there. Madison County's in the house, and Knox County out there too. Saline County. Okay, they keep coming. I can't keep going. We're going to turn this over. But yeah, it's great to see people from all across the state. Trish, I will just go ahead and I'll stop talking and give you a chance here to take things over.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Well, I just want to welcome all of our NFOA members and our friends of the Second Amendment here in Nebraska. Today is a really great day for us to have an opportunity to talk about the Sanctuary County movement. And just a brief background, this is literally a perfect example of grassroots. And what I mean by that is individual citizens, individuals or even small groups on their own, in their own area, taking an opportunity to reach out to their elected officials at the local level to make things happen. So this is not something I would call like an NFOA movement, one that was established and sponsored by the Nebraska Firearm Owners Association. Rather, it was few individual members who had begun to bring this forward in their areas. Other members had caught wind of their success, and over time it grew. And NFOA was very happy to provide a space for communication and collaboration and sharing on our online community. But we were not, involved necessarily in directing efforts. What has happened over the course of a little bit more than a year has been really impressive. And Dick's going to share with us, where we are now. But in the beginning, we were just so happy to see, one county turn, and we maybe had 2 or 3, and then there was 4 or 5. And now when we look at the map that's getting put together, it's like a tsunami of green 2A positivity. And it's just really something that makes all of us who volunteer for NFOA recognize how important it is, the work that we're doing, and that we can't do it alone. And it's really our members and citizens in Nebraska that are going to make this happen across the state. So Dick, let's just share the great news. What's been going on lately?
Well, I'm happy to be the bearer of good news this time. We can't always do that. As a lawyer, sometimes you got to deliver bad news, right? But as of, a couple of weeks ago, and this doesn't even really include Nebraska, but according to sanctuarycounties.com, which is a great national resource that's volunteer-driven, keeping up with how this is going on a national level, according to that site, over 1,188 counties nationwide have passed a resolution declaring themselves as Second Amendment sanctuaries. Now, that's as of about 2 weeks ago. And since then, that website has added most of the counties that we have in Nebraska that they only had, I think, 6 or 8 before. So now we're up to 35 counties so far in Nebraska. 35 out of 93, folks. It's pretty amazing. Great. In fact, that count increased today because Hitchcock County voted in the affirmative on a Second Amendment sanctuary resolution just earlier today. Perkins actually would have voted too, but their minutes aren't posted yet. So we will be cautiously optimistic to see how that develops. But I'm betting they did the same thing Hitchcock did. Just tomorrow, we've got Rock and Harlan counties that should have it on their agenda. And Custer, Dixon, Grant, and Madison should all be coming up next week. So, and I see Corey Wood mentioning that Seward County will be voting tomorrow morning. See, so
that's great.
This is all, as Trish said, this is grassroots led, so that means there's not some master planner in the middle saying, here's the order we're going to do them in, because it's just happening in this organic way, which is wonderful, by the way. That's how the system is supposed to work. And probably this is the most possible sort of operation to do on a grassroots level, because we're talking about local officials that you probably have a chance of even knowing one of them, or know somebody that knows them, or know somebody in the clerk's office. And so sometimes it's different offices that people are going to get that first foothold before we then go on. But yeah, we've got a number of counties that are pending. And like I say, we're finding about more all the time. So note here, please, if you know of something going on in your county, let us know. Maybe just post on an NFOA post on this topic in the comments, and we will try to confirm that information and add it to our list so that we can help coordinate people. Because as Trish said, really this is about sort of providing a space that NFOA can do that and help people who are already of a mind to do this kind of work can meet up and organize there. And it's also just getting the word out so people know that this is something that they can do. I did also, Trish, if you'll humor me, I wanted to explain a little bit about what the heck this means, right? We just talked about a map and having a bunch of counties go green. But what does it mean to us, and why should we care? And so I'm going to share my screen if I can get authorization to do that. And let's see. So I'm going to share screen 2. And I believe you can see that now. This is a resolution that was passed in Jefferson County. And this was back last year, March of 2020. And really, these things got going late last January into February, on into March. And then as far as I can tell, we didn't have a lot of movement after March. And all of a sudden, when they introduced that federal gun control proposal, just the dam burst open and people got really excited about this project again. And we've seen, I think, 20 at least this year, if not 25. So you'll see in this sample resolution that most of what it's doing is telling us something that politicians ought to know, because they all take an oath to support and defend the United States and Nebraska constitutions. And these are reciting some of the constitutional protections that are afforded, to those of us who choose to keep and bear arms, that right shall not be infringed, right? That's right there in the Constitution and the federal level. And of course, it recites how that's written in our state constitution. And it even goes so far as to explain the court case, the Heller case, where the Supreme Court said, look, this is an individual right. This isn't about a right that's vested in state governments, but this is about individuals having the right. And so then that's all the whereases. That's kind of the why of a resolution. And now here are the things that it does. They declare they support the rights and liberties guaranteed by the Constitution. And of course, they just recited the ones that this is about. And then it affirms that it will support the sheriff in upholding the United States and Nebraska constitutions. And so some people might say that this is just sort of ceremonial, or it's just a formality, or it's just a nice thing to do, like when we send a legislative resolution to a newly minted Eagle Scout and maybe there's not any effect. But I will tell you that counties control the purse when it comes to spending county resources. And a county board has to appropriate resources to a sheriff in order to give that sheriff the authority to spend the county money, right? And so the county board does have some teeth to be able to actually prevent a sheriff from expending resources on something that's not an authorized use, okay? So I don't think it's the case that counties cannot do anything, but what I'll tell you is, at least the sheriffs that I have talked to in the counties that have passed these, I think most of them are on board. And again, that's why this one is worded as saying that they will support the sheriff, because their expectation is the sheriff is not going to engage in enforcement activities that cross that constitutional line. And they're saying, hey, we've got your six. We're going to back your play on this, sheriff. And so I think that's a great thing. Now, some sheriffs might be more with us than others, okay? Some might have more reservations about the right to keep and bear arms and be less enthusiastic about this. And I would maybe expect resolutions in counties where that's the lay of the land to read slightly differently. But there's a lot of variety in different resolutions. And again, there's been 35 of them passed in Nebraska, and they're not just all cookie cutter, okay? So one of the things that we need to be aware of is that different counties are saying slightly different things, but it all boils down to them telling, well, their employees or the people that they appropriate money to, like the sheriff, other county officials, what the policy of the county is. But it also does send an important message to voters that, hey, we hear you, that we know that this is important to you. And as your representatives in government, we're going to say it's important to us too, and let you know we understand this is where our county stands on this. And I think that that's a fact. I think every one of those green counties is not just 3 people in that county are all right to keep and bear arms and they all happen to be on the county board, right? I think that I think that really there is a strong sentiment that this is a God-given right. We're blessed to live in a country where it's also recognized by our Constitution and by the laws where we live. So this is sending a message to those voters that, hey, we hear you and we're on the same side on this one, which if they don't want to get unelected, I think is good for them. But it also does send a message to other levels of government, whether it's state government or federal government. And I mentioned that a lot of the momentum here, especially this year, came, well, after a certain election happened in November. And then, of course, after the introduction of new gun control legislation in the Congress. And so, in a sense, these resolutions are sending a message, maybe even all the way to DC, that, hey, you can do this, but we're not going to help. Right. Here's the thing. Yeah. The feds and actually the state to a lesser degree, they rely on these local law enforcement officials. There are more police officers in New York City than there are agents in the entire ATF. Okay. And so without the local law enforcement, these federal policies are going to be really difficult to enforce. And so saying, hey, we're just not going to help you, and in fact, we're going to tell our people that they can't help you, is an important thing when it comes to the feds understanding what the enforceability of this might be, because the federal government cannot require a state to enforce federal laws. There's a very important case actually relating to gun control laws called the Printz case, Printz. And in fact, we have a piece of legislation pending in the Nebraska legislature that quotes that case and would do statewide what these county resolutions are doing locally. In fact, it probably has a little more teeth because it does, in fact, make it unlawful to use any state resources or any sort of the imprimatur of state authority to carry out enforcement of these gun control laws that cross the line into unconstitutionality. And again, we're not talking about lining people up on the border and are arresting, federal agents. We're just saying, look, there's not enough of you, and we know it, and we're not going to help you. And in fact, we're going to forbid our people from helping you. So that's sending a message to another level of government about, hey, don't do what you're doing. Your bill is bad. But look, this can also send a message in an affirmative way. I already mentioned one bill in the legislature that's pending right now, LB 188, where it very much ought to be bootstrapped by this effort, right? That, hey, these are counties who are speaking up. This is a grassroots thing, just catching fire across the state. We're already past the 1/3 mark, and we're headed towards the halfway mark, maybe this month even. And so maybe we ought to reconsider 188, which unfortunately is currently stuck in committee 4-4. We just need one person to break ranks and come over on that in the government committee, and we could have that one out too. And then, of course, there's a bill that I wrote that is out on the floor of the legislature. It has a priority designation, which means it's basically guaranteed to be debated on the floor. And that's Senator Brewer's LB 236. And I saw somebody in the comments mention that Iowa just saw their bill signed into law that legalizes constitutional carry, permitless carry statewide, which is an awesome thing. And in fact, we are now the only state in the region besides Colorado that doesn't have constitutional carry. 5 out of our 6 neighbors now have statewide constitutional carry, at least for their residents. And I believe 4 of those 5 have it for non-residents as well. So we are now the island of unfree. Okay. And we'd like to think that we're stand out in good ways in Nebraska, but unfortunately we're standing out in a bad way here. We're a red state that is not choosing to honor this right in the way that other states have seen that it's appropriate to do.
Right. So the island of unfit toys were the island of unfit 2A laws.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and so Senator Brewer's bill, it's not a statewide constitutional carry bill because he tried that when he was a freshman senator and he got 1 day in the sun in his hearing in the Judiciary Committee on like the very last day of hearings. And then that bill went away, never to be seen again. So the constitutional carry bill that we introduced would authorize counties to say, hey, we're constitutional carry counties. And just like states across the country have tried out concealed carry, lawful concealed carry, by going to a permitting process, and now many of them are going to permitless carry, because guess what? It didn't turn into Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome when people are able to lawfully carry their concealed firearms and be discreet about being armed. And I think that this is a way for many counties in Nebraska to lead the way, not just through these resolutions, but if LB 236 passes, to give them some real teeth to say, hey, we can actually make our county freer than the rest of the state. And I want to mention everybody on our side, I think, has some reservations about going with this county by county way of implementing concealed carry. Part of that is just pure political practicalities. We're never going to get it out of the Judiciary Committee. We could write it in a way where it becomes about county powers and not about guns, and therefore it came to our committee where we had a little more control of the process. But again, this is about making movement in the direction of more liberty, and we would like to get to a point one day where we don't have a patchwork. But the problem is right now, we have a bad sort of patchwork, right? You can be driving through the state and you're in a free area, and all of a sudden you cross some political boundary and you're less free, right? And so this is a situation, if LB 236 passes, where you're driving along, and if you're not aware, you might accidentally find yourself in a place that's more free than you were before. The horrors, right? So that's the good kind of patchwork. If we have to have one, at least let local control work in both directions is kind of the rationale there. But in any case, these resolutions, I do think, send a message to Lincoln that, hey, counties care about this right and they want to act on it. And we ought to give them more room to maneuver so that they can protect the rights of their constituents. I did see somebody mention LB 188 being held up in committee, and that there's 4 people in particular to contact. I would mention that Senator Hunt, it is Hunt and not Hunter, but politely contact each of those senators and request that they consider voting LB 188 out of committee. If you do contact Senator Blood, I would start out by thanking her for her good vote on 236. She was the 5th vote to get that out of committee, which we were very grateful for, and just ask her to follow through on that same line of thinking and support LB 188, which is Senator Steve Halloran's sanctuary state bill. I think it's actually called the Second Amendment Preservation Act, but it's essentially a sanctuary state bill. So yeah, that's kind of the where we are and the what it means. But I guess, Trish, people are probably wondering, how can we make more of those boxes on the map go from gray to yellow to green?
Exactly.
And so we see the question from Michelle: how do we help this happen in our counties?
There's another question that goes right with this. I think we can answer these both together from Adam. How can people find out if their county has begun this process?
Great. Well, I think I can knock both of those questions out in short order here. So the first thing we can all do is we can get educated, which is what you're all doing here tonight by being on with this webcast. You're understanding the why, and we're talking about, at least now, the how. And so the how is get yourself some of these sample resolutions, which we can share with you. We can probably put up a Dropbox or put them on the NFO website or something, and give you some samples to be able to carry to your local county commissioners, so that they're not just looking at a resolution off of some website, but they're looking at what Jefferson County passed or what Hitchcock County just passed today. And they're seeing, hey, this is my neighbor. I'm not just putting my rear end out in the wind with no cover, right? This is a whole bunch of people standing together. And it's more and more all the time. So getting those samples of resolutions can be important to show that your county wouldn't be standing alone. And it's also important because guess what? People in government don't like doing extra work. It's a surprise, I know. But if you get them sample resolutions, you are significantly reducing the cost in terms of labor to make this something that appears on the agenda, because now they've already got something that they can work off of as a sample. And it's that much quicker to get something into working form to put on a business meeting agenda. So once you have some samples of resolutions, you need to contact the people who have the power to put this on the county board's agenda. And that is county board members, principally. And those are the people that it's probably most appropriate to ask about getting this on the agenda. But you can absolutely talk to your county clerk just to find out maybe if it is going to be on an upcoming agenda, what date that meeting might be on. If you haven't seen that on an NFOA post or some other resource, you can find out directly from the county clerk or the county website. Every county in Nebraska has a website where they do post meeting agenda and meeting minutes information. Some of them are a little fancier than others. Some of them are kind of the bare bones thing they built off of a state grant. But you can get your information that way. Contact that county board member to get it on the agenda. And by the way, I do also recommend that you put a light touch maybe on the county attorney or on the sheriff. And in fact, there have been sheriffs who were the mover and shaker that got it added to the agenda. And so don't think that anybody's off limits to have a chat with about this. But of course, make it polite, make it informative. And if they're busy, make it brief, because you can hit your bullets and get to your ask. And you don't want to be a problem constituent and be read that way. And we're not problem constituents by asking people to do their jobs, but we do need to get to the bottom line quickly and let them know what they can do to fulfill our request and have us stop calling, at least on that topic, right? So we want them, before you get off the phone with somebody, ideally, you'd know, hey, okay, this is going to be on the agenda when? When's your next meeting? Okay, well, do we have time to get that notice out so that we can actually vote on this? Because that's a requirement under state law. We can't vote on something at a public meeting until the public has had notice of it, so people know to show up at that meeting and express their views. And then finally, organize others to go with you to the meeting. Now, whether that is physically going to the meeting or just a lot of local folks who put in asks in the form of emails and phone calls to those county board members so they know that the county is with them on this. Just do a little bit of organizing. And that's where the grassroots shows through, when there's actually real live people at the local level. And it's not just some guy named Dick Clark calling all the counties saying, hey, do this, right? Because I'll tell you, I've been accused of that. And I told people, no, as much as I'd like to take credit, or as much as Trish would like to take credit for her brilliant leadership as president of NFOA, I don't think either of us can for this. This is just real live people who are saying, you know what, where I'm at, I want to make it a little bit freer, and I want to fly the flag of freedom here in my home county. And that's how these counties are turning green. So
absolutely. At the most, we're really just a conduit of information. Since, we support the Second Amendment, we have so many members, and we are just really supporting all these individuals getting the word out so that they can meet up and connect and have a place to work together. I've fielded calls from different county commissioners, sometimes individuals, sometimes the entire set of them, to address their concerns and questions as to their empowerment to do this, the reasoning behind it, how it actually works, those kinds of things. And we're absolutely happy to do that. We are happy to facilitate and make easy as much as we can. If for whatever reason, because I have the name NFOA behind me, or the title president by my name, if that means somehow my words have more weight, then I'm happy to share those words. I'm president because they voted me in, the people. And other than that, that's all it means, is I help to support the efforts of all these individuals. But again, sometimes it's helpful, you're seen as an expert and you can talk about how it's moving across the state and that kind of thing. But time and time again, it really is the individuals making the phone calls. And I'll say this, being steadfast. We've had some questions pop through, like, why aren't we a constitutional carry state? We had one of our, literally the NFOA founder, populate a comment that, well, really in 1988, we became a constitutional carry state with the amendment of Article 1, Section 1. But we all can look and see that over the years, the political landscape has not been one where the voice of the people has been necessarily as respected as we all know it should be. As members of the second house. In many ways, it's a real easy way to say, oh yeah, I'm listening to the members of the second house, but I can vote however I want in committee. And we've seen that. We've seen wonderful pieces of legislation come through with like 99.9% support, hundreds of people showing up, hundreds of emails, hundreds of phone calls. and not get voted through on committee, as if that piece of legislation wasn't worth the analysis and discussion and debate, which really lets me know then they're just simply afraid of freedom. Those who are not voting this out of committee, they're voting with, well, whatever justification they're voting with. And it's challenging. And so what I want to say is that for some who have been working really, really long time, like Bill, who's online with us, he has been nose to the grindstone. He's taken some breaks just to get a breather, but he's been working Odo County for a long time. And he's one of the members who really helped us realize that our organization could be of support and provide a space for him to connect with other people. But Bill's tenacity, to his credit, he's not going to give up, and neither will we. And so for those of us who've had it a little easier in some of our counties, that's great. But many of your brothers and sisters are facing an upward battle, whether or not it's the sheriff or maybe it's the district attorney, or the county attorney, who's not aware really of understanding what a sanctuary county declaration actually means. And so sometimes there's a lot of education that gets involved in this, and we got to stay the course.
Yeah, and I want to jump in here real quick and just interject, because ultimately what we're seeing with this two-way sanctuary county movement, this is the true purpose of why NFOA was even formed. And really, when you come down to it, this is what we are. I like to tell people NFOA is not a what or a where. We haven't even got an office building. We're a who. We're a group of people who have agreed that we're going to be on the same team and work together to get these common goals accomplished. Now, two things. First of all, on the two-way sanctuary county movement, we didn't start it, right? That's what Trish just said, is that we have seen that each county that's done this has done this on their own, and now it is kind of catching fire, and more people are finding out about it as we go along. But this is not something that NFOA is here to take credit for in any way, shape, or form. That's not what we're doing tonight. But now that we're seeing that this is something it's catching fire, right, and it's starting to spread across our great state, we want to get all this info out to as many people as we possibly can, and do this in kind of an orderly fashion so that we can get, I'd love to see all 93 counties do this, even if we cannot get LB 188 out of committee, then it wouldn't be quite so bad, although I still would like to see 188 get brought out of committee and then ultimately passed and signed. But sadly, I've seen a few people comment on our Facebook page on different posts that they've reached out to some of these senators that are in the Judiciary Committee who are getting some pushback and being told that the majority of Nebraskans don't support this. Well, let me tell you, Senator who said that, and I don't remember which one, and I'm not going to guess. Obviously, it was one of the four. But senators, if any of you are watching or listening to this, Nebraskans do want this. And we've already got, like Dick said, we've got a third of our counties that have already put measures in place. Almost half of them, hopefully within the next month or two, will have put these measures in place. If that doesn't speak to our senators, I don't know what will. This is hard evidence, that it's irrefutable evidence, proof that Nebraskans want this stuff. We do care about our gun rights. We are not willing to compromise them here in Nebraska. And I just love being part of what's going on. Real quick, and I've got a question to get this back on track for you, Dick, but I've been informed that the next Madison County Commissioners meeting is a week from tomorrow, and hopefully this will be on the agenda for that meeting. I cannot get there. It's too late notice. I can't get off work. But if anybody from Madison County is listening to this, the date on that would be April 13th, I believe it is. So if you can get to that commissioners meeting in Madison, please go support the 2A Sanctuary County movement for my county as well, here where I live. Okay, so out there in the YouTube side, Dick, we've got a question that is coming from Marty. She is watching from Gosper County. And let's see. She's looking for some advice, and some people have commented advice, but I want to get your take on this as well. Marty went to the county commissioner's office on this. Yeah. They directed to the county attorney. The county attorney said she would oppose it. Mm-hmm. What's the next step if you've got a county attorney who's not for this?
Well, So it's a good question. I mentioned earlier that I work in the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee office, and that happens to be the committee where all bills relating to the powers of counties go. And so I am the attorney for the legislature, counseling senators on what the powers of counties are. And so it would be appropriate for that county attorney, if they are doubtful about whether or not the county has the power to pass such a resolution, I'd be happy to speak with them. And you can have them call Senator Tom Brewer's office, which is the government committee office, which is 402-471-2628. They can look it up there. If they're attorneys, I'm sure they can Google up a phone number. But in any case, I have worked with a number of county attorneys on, sort of working through the legal concepts involved here. Because, unfortunately, if you're an attorney, that means that you have run the gauntlet of 7 years of education at the hand of probably quite a few anti-Second Amendment types, right? And it's not true that everybody who's a faculty member at a higher education institution is anti-gun, but I'd say it's a little worse batting average than the general pop, right? And so probably there are some county attorneys in very conservative states, counties, that have leanings in the other direction on this issue and perhaps on other issues. And what we don't want to have is a county attorney making the argument that, hey, I'm your attorney and I'm just going to tell you this is illegal, because that's not true. Okay. And so if you run into that also, and your county attorney is not receptive to having a further discussion, let your county board members know that there's an attorney at the legislature working in Senator Brewer's office who's working on this issue and who happens to spend a lot of his time on what the powers of counties are, who can talk to them about what they do have the power currently to do. And so that is something that is surmountable. And I can tell you, we've turned some no's into yeses just by having conversations. And this isn't about trying to bully anybody into it or, lining up people with pitchforks outside their door. Let's just win the idea fight because we've got the better ideas and we happen to be right. And so that is something I think is totally winnable. And again, in the case where you got a county attorney throwing up some supposed legal impediment, I think we can cure that pretty easy and let the county commissioners know that maybe political views are infecting the legal analysis that they're getting, and which they should understand happens sometimes. And people who are counseled by an attorney don't always have to take the attorney's advice. And this is one area where we might say, hey, with respect, I think your attorney's giving you some bad advice. So, that's it's important, though, because there's pushback in a lot of places. And, sometimes it's even from somebody who is pro-gun, but just kind of thinks this is hokey, or the first time they were exposed to it, it was from a, sort of an oddball source, and that just sort of colored their view of it. So give us a chance to continue to talk through the problems with them and hopefully get them on the same page.
All right. Very, very cool answer. Thank you. Real quick, while we've kind of got a little bit of a break here, Dick, do you have a current map, even if it doesn't have today's results on it yet, that we can put back on the screen? I know we've got a few people out there in the comments that have wanted to know which counties have already done this, and you ran through a lot of them, but it would. Well,
here's what I'll do. Trish, you might be able to pull up the map that I sent you, because I don't have it on this computer. But what I will do is I will show my screen where I've got this all on a spreadsheet, because that's how we're tracking this, or at least how I am. And sorry, technical difficulties there, a little glitchy. But in any case, I've just gone through, and actually between me and Tony Baker, who's the legislative aide in the Brewer office, we called every one of these counties over the course of about a week, called all 93. And called some of them twice because we didn't get correct information the first time, and so called back. And with that said, we have found out in some cases that people just weren't quite sure what happened a year ago, and in fact, they did pass something. And so, what was it? I think Banner County might have been the one where people were, Garden County, I think, was the one where people were saying, hey, Garden did this a long time ago. And we're like, hey, we want to believe you, but we got to see the proof. Because we're being very conservative about how we're tabulating this data. And I'm not adding it to the list and saying they've adopted a resolution unless I know the date they took the vote, and preferably a resolution number. Because I don't want to give any false positives. I think that the good news is good enough already without having to fib or bend the truth. But this is what the raw data that I've got looks like. And if you're wondering why things are in italics, that's because those are in Senator Brewer's district, and he's he's trying to win the contest, with all the other senators, and he's kind of got an unfair advantage because he's the most sparsely populated district, so he has more counties than anybody
most
else.
counties.
It's not fair. But
well,
Senator
I did find
I was going to say Senator Erdman gets the award though because Morrill County, which is not only in his district but it is his home county because he lives in Bridgeport, they were our very first, and so he gets the first to finish prize. But Senator Brewer is getting the stamina prize.
Awesome. Well, let me see if I can share. I found the graphic. Let's share screen. Let's see.
While you're doing that, out there on the YouTube side, Yankee Prod is asking how to get an NFOA hat. That info is coming very soon. There's a teaser post on our Facebook page. And I don't know, Yankee, if you're on Facebook or not, but these hats, along with some T-shirts and some quarter zip pullovers, are coming. So be watching. If you're not on the Facebook page, go to nebraskafirearms.org and make sure you sign up to get all the emails, because when these are available to order, we will be pushing out that email, and that should be hopefully very soon, right, Trish?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Looks like we've got the map ready to go.
All right. So one thing I'll mention here, Nemaha we had on as yellow because we understood that this was going to be on the agenda on the 31st. And it sounds like there were some sort of public comments along the line, and there was a time for people to talk on it. But I do not believe they voted on a resolution. So I think we still need to work on Nemaha to get that going. Some of the other yellow counties, just an update. As I said earlier, Hitchcock voted today, and they did vote in the affirmative. So on an updated map, Hitchcock down in the bottom left corner, the southwest corner, is going to be turning green. So congratulations to Hitchcock County. And I believe that's what we're going to be able to say about Perkins as well. Which you see just a couple up and over from Hitchcock. They're on the Colorado border, but they haven't posted their meeting minutes yet. And so we don't know the answer to that one. I'm optimistic. And then Rock and Harlan counties are voting tomorrow on this, is my understanding. So if you're out there, look, anybody can contact a county commissioner from anywhere, but I will tell you, they care the most when it's somebody who can get them unelected. And if you hold a ballot that says their county name on one of the lines where you get to cast a vote, they're going to pay a little more attention to you. And that's true with state legislators, just like it is with county commissioners. Okay. So in any case, yeah, Rock and Harlan tomorrow, Custer, Dixon, Grant, and now Madison, which is not on this version of the map, are all up next week, I believe all on the 13th. And so, and then also Seward, somebody mentioned earlier, I believe is on that same day, the 13th. So we have plenty to do. And if you're in any of these counties that are yellow, normally yellow means slow down, but we want you to speed up. We want you to exert more effort because now's the time, right? This is either about to happen or not about to happen. I will tell you, there have been some counties that have put it up on the agenda and did not adopt the resolution because they didn't hear enough from the public, and maybe they got some crossfire from the county attorney who expressed misgivings. And I forget the name of the county, but it's the county where Ord is located, Valley County.
Valley County.
Custer. Yeah. They actually voted on this and did not vote to adopt the resolution. And so that's one that we need to go back and work on again. And there's no reason Valley County shouldn't be a Second Amendment sanctuary county. I think it's just inadequate application of elbow grease. So
I know some folks from Valley County that are good people over there.
Yeah.
All right. Trying to see if I've missed any questions that I need to get out here. Trish, do you have anything that you want to mention or something that you wanted to have us cover that we haven't gotten to yet while I'm looking for questions?
There's been some really good questions, so I hope you were able to find them. Really understanding the role of a sanctuary county with regards to how it keeps law enforcement from conducting any, confiscation and those kinds of things. And the biggest thing is, you may have a sheriff in office who campaigned and has toed the line with regards to supporting the Second Amendment, and he or she may be serving in a county that has not adopted that resolution. And so we can't count the county as a sanctuary county, even though the law enforcement entities there are treating the people with the respect they deserve with regards to their constitutional rights. And so it's absolutely wonderful when we have unofficial counties, because we have the sheriffs who are truly representing their oath to office with regards to protecting the people. But again, until they pass the resolution, we're not going to keep them on the map. Some other questions or thoughts that people had come up was, so we are, Joe, a 501c3, but we're a 501c4, excuse me. So we're a lobbying organization, and we are moving towards creating a PAC, a political action committee, because as NFOA, we can't endorse candidates. We can educate folks about candidates, but we can't endorse or help support candidates running against folks who haven't held their oath of office to heart. So that is moving forward. I'll say that, again, one of the challenges of being an all volunteer group is not all of us have areas of expertise that we need. And so we're looking for resources to help us form the PAC in such a way that we can make sure we're lawful, we're addressing things in a legal manner, because there's a lot of reporting requirements from a financial perspective. But yes, we realize that there's more work to be done in a way to get the folks that truly represent our values as Nebraskans into elected office at all levels across our state, not just the senators at the unicameral, but in the city councils and school boards and what have you. Everything funnels upwards, right? And so if we want to have really, really good candidates for Senate, we need to have really good candidates on all levels. And so we're moving forward with that.
And it's a great point, Trish, because anybody that goes to one of these county board meetings, we're now going to know that you know the way to the county courthouse, which means like you could even run for office yourself or get somebody else to attend to it. Okay. And I will tell you, just as somebody who I have run for office myself, and I don't hold an office because I didn't win. Okay. So take this with a grain of salt, but I'll tell you that people who start out at the local level, whether it's a school board or like in Lincoln, the gal I ran against had run for the airport authority, which is probably not something people stay up late at night thinking about who's on the airport authority board, but it showed she could show up and do the work. And it, when you have that past experience, all of a sudden the next step may be more within reach,
right?
And think of that as the first rung on the ladder. It doesn't mean it's not important. It doesn't mean that, the county business is not important business, but even if you have a view to try to impact things at a statewide level or at a national level, boy, you better really be thinking about making sure that you're proven even just at the local level, because where the rubber meets the road and where you either do the work or don't, that's what's going to send the message about whether you're a serious candidate for that bigger race. And we have some wonderful elected officials at the local level and NFOA members who are on county boards. And I will tell you, I was in the gun store about a month and a half ago, and I got a phone call from a county board member wanting to know about how to do a Second Amendment sanctuary county resolution in his county. And he asked me, well, is this anything you work on? I heard you kind of deal with guns. I say, well, I don't know if it'll help my credentials any, but I am presently standing in a gun store. So he said, okay, now I trust what you tell me.
Yeah.
That's cool. Real quick, just because we can't have the map up the whole time, and of course the map needs to be updated. So over on the Facebook side, Jerry is asking about York and Hamilton County, and even I can't remember now. So
let me look.
Dick's got this info real quick. And then while you're checking on York and Hamilton, Allison's got a great suggestion. Is it possible to mark the counties that have had the measure come up and declined them or voted them down? Maybe we could make them red or something like that.
Yeah. So York and Hamilton have not passed a resolution yet.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah. And so far as we know, neither has had it on the agenda.
Okay. So counties like Valley County, maybe we could have them show up a different color so that people know that one glance at the map and you can say, oh, look, my county tried and we didn't get it done. We need to try harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Joe, I like your suggestion.
No, it's a great suggestion because it also helps you know what you're walking into when you go make the ask. And so we'll see if we can't make the map a little richer. Now, I will tell you that NFOA currently does not contract with any professional map makers. So these are all absolutely amateur meme creations. But, you know what, we're spending the money, or I should say the organization is spending the money where it counts. And, Trish, let me add one other thing. When you talked about that different legal statuses of the organization, I did want to explain NFOA can engage in politics right now. And I don't want anybody to go away thinking they can't. What NFOA can't do is engage in electioneering, right? And so NFOA absolutely can and indeed does show up at hearings, testify on bills, say this is a bad bill or this is a good bill, or hey, this is how you can improve the bill. And that is valuable work. But what electioneering enables you to do is it enables you to actually try to impact elections and put information out, frankly, that might either help a candidate or hurt a candidate. And if NFOA, if a political action committee related to NFOA were to do that, it would certainly be based on how did you vote when you were in there before, or where were you at? If you hadn't been in there before, what have you made any strong statements that help us believe you probably going to have to own that position and not waffle on it later, right? And so those are all important things that you have to be set up a little bit differently to do because, as Trish said, there's much more reporting that goes into that. When you just lobby on bills, there's certainly reporting on that as well, but it's not quite as extensive. And frankly, there's not as much of a headache related to that as there is with all the electioneering, because that's where people get really spooked and think you're up to something. So all important stuff, and it's all stuff that's on the to-do list as I understand it.
Thank you. That's awesome summary. Love it. You can send me a bill for that thing.
$0.
Yay.
All right.
Oh, that was great advice. So we'll double it. we'll pay you double that, Zero Dick.
I appreciate that. You're too generous with me.
So for the folks who are coming in a little later who are asking if certain counties have it on the agenda, as our map gets updated where we have confirmation that the resolution is on the county agenda, we'll be turning the county yellow to let you know. And right now we'll be preparing an updated map. I'll probably post it tomorrow with the updates. Maybe we'll hear from the minutes from the last meeting for that last county today.
County.
And again, sometimes we find out it's on the agenda because you, as a, constituents of the county, call your county or go online to your county website to see if things are on the agenda. And that's how we find out. We don't have volunteers going out, like newscasters, sniffing for news. We really hear it through the amazing grapevine that is phone calls, emails, Facebook, social media. And so oftentimes you are our source of information. We're just trying to share it to the largest audience. So we'll try to answer when we know for sure that something's on the agenda or getting worked on. But again, please keep that information coming through to us. And we'd really appreciate it.
Yeah. One thing I'll mention is that as I was calling around, we started out and I created this spreadsheet that I showed you. I created it last year. And I really, I think we got 7 or 8 counties on the list. Yeah. And that was where it seemed to stop. Now, it turns out that I missed like half of the counties that did it last year because they passed it. And to them, it wasn't that big of a deal. It's just, of course, we're Second Amendment, believers here. Next subject, please. Right. And a lot of these counties, frankly, are much smaller in population. One of the things I've got in my spreadsheet is the population of each county. And, Banner was the second to do it. They've got a population of 759. Loop was the 4th county to do it in February of last year. They have a population of 576. And so they may just not have had the resources to put it on billboards that, hey, we've done this, right? But we told them, hey, you did a great thing. We'd like to let people know about this. And so that's how the list, just even of 2020 counties that had done this, went from like 8 to 15 just over the course of a bunch of phone calls and emails. And then, as I said, in 2021, so far we have added, let me see, another 14, I think, maybe 15. Yeah, 14 or 15. So, and we'll keep that count rising. As I say, maybe even as soon as tomorrow. But it's happening faster than we can keep up with it. If we were central planners of this great scheme, we'd be pretty bad at it because we don't know all the good that everybody's doing.
Yeah.
And again, just for the benefit of those of you who are joining us a little bit later, we mentioned this before, but if you are like so many and you're out in the central or the western part of the state, and you think that that Omaha and Lincoln don't care about you, don't even know that you're out there. If you want to make your voice heard in a very, very, very loud way, get this measure passed in your county. Because again, the more counties that we can get to do this, the louder our voice gets and the stronger our message becomes when we do approach our lawmakers in the unicameral and say, hey, Nebraskans want this to happen. It helps us as NFOA, as an organization, to not to claim credit where it's undue. We didn't do this, but at the same time, we can point to this map and say, hey, this is something that Nebraskans have done all on their own, and you guys really have done all the work here, but we want to make sure that the right people are taking notice, that what you've done doesn't go unnoticed, that it does mean something. It's not just a statement that says, hey, we like the Second Amendment. It really means, hey, as Nebraskans, we're unwilling to compromise. And so again, the more counties that do this, the more green we can put on this map, the stronger that message gets, the louder this voice gets. They will listen to you in Lincoln, I promise. I came from a place where, I mean, I grew up understanding that, Kippahaw County, the population's, I think, in the 700s now. I know if there's a home game, the population of Springview doubles. But I mean, I get it. We know that sometimes we feel kind of forgotten or insignificant compared to the counties that have all the people, right? And of course, those are the counties that have most of the senators too. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that we don't have a voice, we don't have a vote. Our voices do matter out here in the rest of the state. We just have to find a way to get that wheel to squeak loud enough to get the grease, right?
Exactly.
And John, just so you know, in my spreadsheet, Kippahaw I've got down as having 790 residents.
There you go.
And
I know
you got more than one per square mile. 773 square mile county, and you got 790 people. So you got a few to spare there.
That they're actually counting feet, not heads. That's how you do that. a lot of cow heads, I think, get counted in along with that.
Well, and I'm seeing some thank yous from like Robert and Pat and others. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your thanks. This is not a thankless job. We are all sort of innately motivated to do what we're doing. We all have our reasons, and we probably have very similar reasons to why you're joining us today. We know that gun rights are civil rights, and the attitude and the culture of a people who wish to have the opportunity to preserve their freedom so that we can respond in a responsible way to threats that might harm our family or community, as well as all the other wonderful ways that we enjoy firearms, hunting, competitive shooting sports, and just plinking, for goodness sakes. But at the heart of it, it's the spirit of Nebraska, and that's what I really think I admire the most. I'll be honest, I am not a native Nebraskan, but I am proud to be a Nebraskan, and I often don't share where I escaped from because that state has basically the opposite of all the freedoms that we have in the state. But at the same time, there's a lot more that we can do to improve, and so that we don't take for granted. And I think that's what's happening is we are changing the perspective of our fellow citizens who took for granted that we were a fantastically Second Amendment supporting state. And there's a lot of eye-opening and heart-opening that's going on where people are realizing that, well, wait a minute, how can we be surrounded by all these permitless states? How do we get the Sanctuary State Preservation Act passed? Why didn't LB 88 come out of committee? Why don't we have state preemption? And what's happening is I believe that we're waking up Nebraska. We were calm, cool, and collected and relaxed and assumed that those we elected were representing our values. And what we found is sometimes they don't. And when they don't, over time, we tend to have to just fight to keep what we have, let alone advance what we know would provide us more freedom. So for everyone who's getting involved, thank you for joining us tonight. I know, it was a beautiful evening. The weather was fantastic. I know I would definitely like to have been doing this from my recliner on the deck this evening. So I'm glad that you guys all came out to learn and listen and make a difference yourself. So I appreciate that.
Yep. And yeah, very, very true. Real quick, we've got just a couple minutes before we're going to wrap things up here. Do we have anything else we need to mention, Dick or Trish, on the two-way sanctuary?
I saw a question scroll by in the comments earlier that I did want to give an affirmative response to. So somebody asked, and I'll try to find it. Somebody asked about, hey, what happens if they pass this? Does this mean we can carry without a permit in that county? The answer is no. That this does not change the law relating to the carrying of concealed weapons in Nebraska just by passing one of these sanctuary county resolutions. Now, what would change that is if Senator Brewer's LB 236 passes, then counties would have the power to do that and say, hey, we're constitutional carry counties. That is not the law of Nebraska currently. That is not the effect of these resolutions. I didn't want anybody to get tripped up by that because currently, you can get hurt pretty good by breaking the law and getting caught for it. And that's a firearms law violation, could throw you off for being able to get a concealed handgun permit for 10 years and other ugly things that could be a consequence of that. So don't be fooled that, this doesn't take us all the way home to absolute liberty, just, wallowing naked in the Garden of Freedom, right? But we're trying to get closer there.
Well, and let's just mention too, even as a 2A sanctuary county, there are a few things that measure does not do. It does not negate any current laws that are already within the bounds of the Constitution. If you're a 2A sanctuary county, or even if LB 188 would get out of committee and be debated and passed and signed by the governor, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden, if you've got a felony on your record, that you can have a gun. That doesn't change. What it says is that we've got a lot of stuff that's being introduced right now in Congress in Washington, D.C., and we keep hearing rumors about different executive orders that are getting mentioned and possibly toyed with from the White House. So if an executive order or a law would happen to get passed federally that completely goes against what the Second Amendment in the U.S. Constitution says, and Nebraska's Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, if it doesn't fall in line with both constitutions, then it's not a constitutional law. Then the sheriff can decline to enforce such a law, and the sheriff can even say, that he's not or she's not going to allow such a law to be enforced within their county. That's what it does. It does not mean that there's no gun laws whatsoever, or that we have firearm anarchy. It just means that we've got some things coming through that the very passage of them violates the oath of office, right? Because the law violates the constitutions, state and federal. And so if that is the case, then those laws don't get enforced. And that's why it's so important. And hopefully we don't have very many county attorneys who aren't in support of such a thing, but it's so important for the county attorney to be on board to help advise what is and isn't constitutional as far as enforcement of certain laws, and to have the sheriff, the attorney, and the county commissioners all work together on the same team towards the same goal.
Yeah, and if I can just add to that, understand that a lot of county attorneys in the smaller counties especially do not reside in the county. They're contracted with by the county because of the scale of operations at that county. I mean, some counties do not have an attorney that resides in them, which some people might say is a good reason to move that county, right? But but then you also have to understand that the other variety of county attorneys, which are full-time professional government employees, a lot of times that's a job that's sort of low-hanging fruit, where, hey, I can go get a job as an assistant county attorney out in this rural county where they're hurting for attorneys. And so maybe it's a little easier for me to get that job than compete for the cream of the crop jobs in Omaha at the biggest firms or whatever, which pay the most but are the most competitive to get. And so you can absolutely have attorneys who are from the county that they're in and who share values with other people in that county. But we also have other attorneys that came from an urban environment and went to this more rural location as a step in their career path. And so they might have brought their values that we would not share with them. And so they need to be gently persuaded. Or the county board, as I said before, just needs a little education that, hey, listen to the guy when he's giving you legal advice. Maybe don't listen to him when he's giving you theological or philosophical advice. So
Definitely.
Sure. And also, I mean, we've said this before, especially when we were talking about some of these bills in Lincoln that were going before committees and testimonies that were being submitted for those. I'm going to say the same thing here tonight. If you're starting from scratch, or as far as you're starting from scratch in your county, and you're going to approach your commissioners and your sheriff and your county attorney, just remember that courtesy goes a long way. If you are respectful, you can get a lot more done than if you go in there very gruffly and say, you will do this or I will replace you. That may be the truth, and there's a nice way to get that point across as well. But just remember, like with anything else in life, you're dealing with other human beings who have feelings too, and you will catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
True.
So keep in mind that these people, they're still people. Your county commissioners, if you live in a small enough county, I know the county commissioners from the county where my dad lives. I know one of the county commissioners where I live now. But there's a chance that if you're in a small enough or sparsely enough populated county, you probably know at least one, if not all, of the commissioners for your county. And so, I mean, it's somebody that you've dealt with in the community. You know them, probably friends with them. You've already got that kind of relationship started. Just keep that in mind, that they're real people. Even if you don't know them, these are people. They've got feelings just like you do, and nobody likes getting told that they have to do something or getting told what to do. There's just a right way, and it's just being polite. That's all. You can be direct, you can be firm if you want to. Be polite when you do it, and that's all that I would recommend there.
Awesome. All right, so I think we have a couple to-dos, just some ideas generated from listening to everyone's questions and comments. So we're going to update the map and put a post out probably tomorrow. Dick, I think your suggestion that maybe we could have a sample of resolutions posted onto a Google Share Drive where folks could access them so they can see which ones might be appropriate for their county. I know we've shared a few on our online community for the NFOA member area, but I don't think it would hurt for us to put a link out to a Google Drive for folks to be able to see some examples of the language. Do you think we can make that happen?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we can do that. I've already got them all. Well, not all, but I have about a dozen of them in a Google Drive.
Okay.
So
great. And then other than that, we're going to continue to report out. Again, how do you get this done? Watch this video. We've shared it a few different times. It's amazing how simple the process actually is.
Yep.
I'll tell you, I never got into politics until I became a Second Amendment advocate. And now I advocate for all different aspects of my life. You truly are far more empowered and far more capable of being influential than you imagine. So don't let that hold you back. You don't need a title. You don't need an organization to back you. You can do so just as a straight citizen.
Absolutely. And
Trish, we're going to hate to see you leave the president's spot, but when you run for office, it'll be inevitable. And so we just always well in that campaign. I'm just teasing, but not really.
Well, but I'm 100% with you, Trish, because I did not want to think about politics until I saw that my 2A rights were being threatened, and I didn't realize the severity of that threat until just in the last few years. But once you kind of get into that side of politics, it's really hard to not at least have your finger on the pulse of a lot of other issues in politics as well, right? Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, even across Nebraska, I talk to so many people who don't want to get wrapped up in it, because politics is kind of leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. And so if you're watching or listening to this right now, you are already doing more than a lot of your neighbors and your friends are doing. Just by listening to this, being willing to get the info and then if you take the next step and contact your county commissioners and the sheriff and the county attorney, you're doing a ton. And that's all we ask of anybody. You don't have to move mountains here. You just have to get maybe that one pebble rolling, and then watch and see what kind of landslide, what kind of avalanche you can create with that one pebble.
Exactly.
Look what's happened with just a couple counties that adopted 2A sanctuary measures, and the avalanche that's creating now across the state.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's a beautiful thing to see.
All right, so just to give everyone an update, it's about 8:41. I didn't sleep last night, so I can't wait to jump into my jammies and go to bed. But we are actually going to hold another online town hall. We have connected with the gentleman who runs that website that Dick mentioned that tracks sanctuary county development across the nation. And so we're going to reach out and schedule a time with him so that we can further this conversation, kind of reshare these resources, but also talk to him from the perspective of what is he seeing at the national level. And, a lot of times, we may laugh and call ourselves flyover country. But in my conversation with him, he was just so dang impressed with what's happening in Nebraska. He just couldn't believe what has changed so quickly. And he's like, gosh, what are you guys doing? I'm like, they're just doing it. I don't know what they're doing, but it's happening and it's great. And he's like, okay, great. And I said, yeah, we're going to have some online town halls and we'll probably find out more. He's like, yeah, totally count me in. So we're really excited to be able to host him. So John and I are going to coordinate schedules and see when we can bring him on.
Yeah, and the guy that you're talking about, I think his name's Noah Davis.
Yes.
He's a Navy veteran. He lives in Virginia, I believe. And he's just a guy who has a passion for this right, like we do. And so the more you dig in this, the more you see that it is real grassroots. Sometimes you'll see an effort up at the Capitol, is where I work. So I see this sometimes where they sort of try to put on the airs of being a grassroots thing because, look, we got 10 people to all hold the same flyer. And look, there's 10 people there. But this is the kind of grassroots where it's just coming on its own from every direction. And it's not around some central person or organization. And NFOA just happens to be the leading organization in the state to, advance the interest of people exercising their right to keep and bear arms. And so it's a natural fit. But this is from the bottom up. If you want to talk about democracy, this is as close as you get, right?
Definitely.
It's inspiring.
And again, I can't stress enough that we are not here to steal anybody's thunder. NFOA did not make this happen, but now that we see it happening, we want everybody to know about it. Yeah. And we do have a loud voice. And I've always said the only reason that I'm here as part of the NFOA board is because I run my mouth on the internet and I've got a loud voice anyway. So
that's why I'm here.
Right? I got a few people to vote me in on the board, and I'm very, very blessed to be here now. But what we want to do is we just want to get this word out. So please, if you want to help, share the link wherever you're watching this. If it's Facebook, share the video on Facebook. If it's YouTube, then there's a share button there. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel or liked the Facebook page, make sure you're doing that so that you can get these notifications as they come through, especially on Facebook. If you're on the YouTube side, because you don't do Facebook, then make sure that you do go to NebraskaFirearms.org and become a member so that we can get your email address and we can update you that way. We don't sell it. Nothing happens to it other than we use it to get you the info. Because we understand a lot of you don't like Facebook or other social media, and that's fine. We've got the email system for that. Once you're a member, I just want to mention too, there is a separate sign up on our website for the online community, the members forum. And we do post a lot of the stuff there as well. That means once you're a member at NFOA, you still have to go there and set up a second login to be part of the members forum. It's a two-step process, but that's where you can get the info if you're not on our social media. And right now, most of our efforts go into Facebook. We've got some of these other social media pages, but there's flat out not enough time to keep everything updated all the time. So we're trying to focus where we have the most reach, and that's Facebook and YouTube and the emails for now, and the members forum.
And I will tell you, the Journal Star article that was done last week it was written by Don Walton on this topic, was the result of him seeing an NFA social media post that was shared. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And that became a newspaper article based on the map that was shared by NFOA, the comments that my senator put on there, and a little bit more digging that Don Walton did. But the fact is that sharing that information allows NFOA or anybody else to package up information and disseminate it and hopefully get further attention. And by the way, that'd be a great resource if your county board is not so sure about this. The fact that there's been major media coverage of it, and it's not just Journal Star, but also Omaha World Herald, I believe, and
KNOP TV out in North Platte asked for
right.
permission to use the map and put us on their news report the other night about Lincoln County.
Yeah. So all of that comes from the fact that information kind of consolidated, and we were able to get the map together and get the information out. And then it was a really interesting story. I mean, Don Walton isn't somebody who's just hoping and waiting for an NFOA news item to come up, but that was something that was newsworthy. And so that's around the media, and let your, bring a copy of that article with you. If your local elected official is worried that he's going to seem like an oddball for proposing this sort of thing, say, hey, this is catching fire, and look, it's getting attention in Lincoln, and this is a way to continue to let Lincoln know that this is where our county is at. So
awesome.
Absolutely. And then
so there's going to be one more opportunity besides online, John, that folks on the western side might be able to connect with us. You want to share?
Oh, not so much the western side, the northeastern corner of the state.
Anything west of Lincoln is west for me.
and I'm north. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. If you are anywhere within driving distance of Norfolk, we are planning an in-person event, and we're still building the official event online to where we can share some stuff. But April 27th, in Norfolk at the Norfolk Public Library, we will have I hope that we have to have standing room only. We've got enough space for about 70, maybe 75 people in the meeting room, and I really hope that we can max that out. It's going to be kind of a general, I guess, meeting. I'm meeting so many people up here in Northeast Nebraska who don't even know that there is a Nebraska Firearms Owners Association, or that we are fighting for the good laws and against the bad laws in the unicameral and all the other things that we do. So it's going to be kind of a meet and greet. We'll get as many of the board as we can to be there in person as well. Besides myself, I know Trish, you said you'll be there for sure. We will just kind of say, we are NFOA. This is what NFOA does. This is who we are. And then we'll have some time for just questions and answers as far as the 2A sanctuary counties, LB 188 and LB 236, any of the other bills that we testified on quote unquote gun day in the Judiciary Committee in March 3rd it was. We'll have kind of just time to cover whatever people want to cover. But if you can't make it, we would appreciate your help sharing that. And again, I don't have anything online yet to share, but once we get that done, we will be getting that out to everybody. Just trying to find everybody from Northeast, North Central Nebraska who can come. And what I would like to do is see if we can get maybe somebody from all of these neighboring counties to show up and kind of represent your county. And then you can go back and say, hey, there's a Nebraska Firearms Owners Association. It's free to join. This is what they do. And maybe we can get a lot more people across the state who are listening to our voice, and we can get that info out to more people faster than we ever have before. That's my goal. So that's coming up April 27th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Norfolk Public Library.
Great. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. Everyone who joined us online, thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And again, just keep in mind, everybody listening, we can't do this without you. You are the ones that make this happen. You all are the ones that made this happen with the 2A sanctuary counties. Anything that NFOA does, you make it happen. We just try to direct where things go as board members and volunteers. But that's we're nothing without the people, because that's all we are at the end is a team of people. So with that, Nick, thanks for being here. Trish, thanks for joining us. I am, again, Director of Media, John Anderson, coming to you from Norfolk. Thanks, everybody. We love you. God bless you. Have a great rest of your night.
Good night, everybody.